It's dark and hell is hot. Ain't no sunshine when it's on. Only darkness every day. Ain't no sunshine when it's on. Cause when it's on, your niggas know to be gone. Every time, cause we don't play. Who turn out the lights is what niggas be saying. Now you don't wanna fight, but y'all niggas be playing.
What's going on, everybody? I am Two Beer Tom, and you,
and Adelma here,
and Adelma with me, and we are going to discuss rest in peace, DMX. I just want to start real quick. Is DMX was big for me when I was in high school. I did like a 5-minute video, but this is gonna be like a little bit more in depth. DMX was big for me. I put myself getting into hip hop. As you can see, I grew up a rock kid, metalhead. You know, I even have the Slipknot shirt on, but I was never into rap growing up. And neither was the people that I hung with. And DMX, It's Dark and Hell is Hot album came out, and I couldn't help it but like find myself just now in my head to that. You know what I'm saying? Next thing I know, I'm hearing it, and then it's like next thing I know, I'm like sitting there, I'm like, I gotta listen to this song. I'm like, am I really going out of my way to try to listen to like a rap song? Like, what's going on? So next thing you know, I really started getting into hip hop. I started getting into rap, and I put that all on DMX. Like, you know, he broke the whole scene open for me, and you know, it started with him, and then his crew. Like, I went on to Eve, and I went on to a couple others from there, and just kind of branched out. So that's, you know, that was the first impact he had on me.
Why do you think it was DMX that did it? Because, you know, when you listen to hard rock, I mean, I don't know what groups you listen to, and I'm probably a little older than you, so
doubt it.
I think what hear what I'm saying is, I think what attracted you to DMX is the darkness, because do you listen to Alice in Chains? Do you listen? Well, yes. I don't know who you listen to.
Yeah.
But you know, when you're into that kind of rock, it's a little dark. It's dark. So on the flip side of what DMX did, he's dark, right? So that attraction probably is what attracted DMX. Because to be honest with you, hard rock and hip hop have so much in common. You know, when I grew up, and again, I don't know how old you are. I grew up. It was Kiss.
I'm 43.
Okay, it was Kiss. It was Ozzy Osbourne. It was, you know, Alice in Chains. It was, you know, all these different rock groups I listened to, but I also listened to soft rock, which hard rock used to say, "Oh, I don't listen to that pansy stuff" or whatever. But you know, yeah. I think with DMX, he was dark. So you know that's I mean, and even in our culture, DMX is dark. You know what I'm saying? So he's intriguing. People like my mom's age are going to be like, oh, I don't listen. You know what I mean? They're going to look, oh, that stuff's not good, whatever. But I think that's probably what attracted you to DMX and his music.
It could have been. I think, honestly, it was a little bit of that. And I think it was, and I think it was his voice.
Oh, yeah, definitely.
You know, I think it was his voice. Like, because up until this point, and you know, I don't want it to sound like I'm bashing. I don't want it to sound like I'm trying to smear anybody or anything like that. But, you know, up until that point, all I really heard was, I didn't really hear anything quite like that. I didn't realize his the darkness he had until later. Because up until that point, the only song I heard was the Rough Riders anthem.
Right. Okay.
That was literally all I heard. And then from there, you know, I ended up getting the album, And that's when I realized, holy shit, this guy's fucking dark. Like, which I'll get more into a little bit later. But I really think it was his voice. He had a very
distinct.
The only thing that I can the only rapper I can really compare their voice like sucking me in, even though it's not the same style, would be Ja Rule. Like
Absolutely.
Ja Rule had, correct me if I'm wrong, but I kind of, just to me anyway, his voice was so distinct and so different. It was very raspy. It's very very raspy, very different type of voice. Like it didn't even need to be deep, and it's like that type of. It just, I don't know. I think that was just part of the intrigue to me, and this is a really odd comparison.
Mm-hmm.
But somebody like DMX, I'm gonna try to explain it. Like at certain points, it sounds like his voice is almost cracking at certain points. Like it's hard for me to really explain, but that's the best way that I can think of it.
Yeah, because when his voice is raspy, and when he talks, it's at points. Like he's got a rhythm to it. So he's saying, "My name is DMX," and he's, you know what I'm saying. So everything, you're waiting to hear him give you something. So that's kind of probably a little bit of the intrigue with it.
So the comparison I was gonna make was almost to, again, it's a bad comparison, but I would say like Kurt Cobain, where when Kurt Cobain screams, his voice almost cracks. You know what I'm saying? Like when he's really, really pushing that scream out, his voice almost has that crackling. And at some points, when DMX is really going off, and almost to the point where he's almost yelling, I feel like there's some of that crackiness, some of that that breaking in his voice, which I could almost compare to that type of thing. And it's, I know it's not a good comparison, but
it is a good comparison.
It's really all I can compare.
It's a good comparison because here you have Kurt Cobain, again, who's dealing with a lot of darkness in his life, right?
Yeah.
DMX is dealing with darkness in his life. Now, the genres of music are a little different, the styles are different, but the message is pretty much the same. And when the voice cracks and he gets to that point where he's angry, or I mean, I don't want to say angry, but he's showing that emotion. When that emotion comes out, it touches you because there's something within you that you can identify with. And that's where people tend to separate rock music from hip hop, and to be honest with you, it's kind of the same. Like I said, it's just a different. They're giving you their story. They're both dark, but they're doing it in a different fashion. So that's how you can kind of, because before you said it, I was thinking of Kurt Cobain when it comparing to DMX. They both had a dark past, and they dealt with their dark past with the gift that they had, and it was through music. And no matter what culture you are or what race you are, whatever, people appreciate music is universal, right?
Absolutely.
So
absolutely, I agree 100%. I mean, like I said, people like, and to this day, Nirvana is my favorite band of all time, but to up until that point, that's all I knew. All I knew was, rock music and how the pain came across and stuff like that. What I didn't realize until really sitting down and listening to that It's Dark and Hell is Hot album was, as dark as he was, there was a lot of light at the same time.
Yes.
And I didn't realize that, because like I said, the only song I knew at the time when I got the album was the Rough Riders anthem. Right. And then How's It Going Down came out afterwards, and I actually enjoyed that one that much more, which I was young, so people were like, that's some girly shit. But anyway, but I did really enjoy it at the time. So I really enjoyed that song. And, um, the more I listened to it, he even had, um, one thing I kind of liked was he kind of split his personality a little bit, which reminds me of, reminds me now of somebody like, I don't know if you know who he is, Corey Taylor. So Corey Taylor
Who's he
is
with? Or is he?
he's in a couple of different bands. Corey Taylor
Okay.
is the vocalist of Slipknot, for example. He wears the mask and all that stuff.
Okay.
He also is the vocalist for this band Stone Sour, which had that song, you may have heard it, I'm Looking at You Through the Glass.
Okay.
So you listen to somebody, have you heard that?
I'm hearing it. I think I've heard it before. I'd have to like listen to it, but I think I've heard it before.
Yeah, so he had that song, I'm Looking at You Through the Glass. And then he also, so it's like night and day, light and
Right.
dark. So, looking back on it, I think I kind of liked that because he had something like Damien, which was very, very dark. It was like, that was like his dark, like almost satanic side. But then he would always have the light with the prayer on it. And then his raps were, even if it wasn't the prayer track specifically, which he had one on every single album.
Right.
If it wasn't that specifically, his songs were laced with religion, whether it was an undertone or it was obvious. It was there. So I kind of liked the whole split thing where, there's two sides to every person. That's how I took it.
So it was basically his struggle. I mean, it was not his. I mean, it with DMX, that was his struggle, right? So we identify with the darkness and we identify with the struggle. And not that he was pushing religion on people, you know what I mean? What he was doing was telling you, listen, I got a problem, okay? And every time I try to do right, I can't get right, but I'm gonna keep going, and when you would listen to DMX, just in between I said to myself, I was saying this when I was thinking about him last night. I said, in between his chaos, with all his chaos, that wisdom just shoots out, right? It just captures you. We all knew he had a drug problem, and he was very open about it, right? Where some people would, people assume they had a drug problem, but they wouldn't necessarily talk about it or whatever. But he'd let you know, listen, the first time I opened my eyes and I saw, when he took a drag of that blunt, and he said it's like a whole new world opened up, and he just kept chasing and chasing and chasing. The struggle for him was, I'm trying to stop, but I can't. But I know you have a I have a purpose inside, so I got to keep going, right? His song, I keep falling, but I keep slipping up, and all that. You know what I mean? Like everything he sung, it was just incredible. And during his last days, I don't want to say last days, but as he was getting older, you started to see that maybe he had some issues as far as because even his speech, his voice was the same, but he would talk a little slower as opposed to, remember when he used to talk really fast?
Yeah.
His speech started getting a little bit slower, and you can see that puffiness. I don't know whether he was on some type of medication or whatever, but you could kind of see it slowing down. But I think that's what captured you. I mean, his darkness. You like the darkness. You can identify with some of his darkness and his struggle. And he's putting it out there. He's normalizing it instead of hiding it. And I think that's what drew you to him, right?
I think so. I mean, I was young and stupid then, so I have no idea, to be honest.
But but he was too, right?
But
He was.
yeah, but I mean, it was something. It was something that drew me to him because, like I said, and even to this day, you know, I listen to, uh, I still listen to hip hop and rap now. I mean, a lot of different people, but um, you know, and I still say I never would have started listening to rap or hip hop if it wasn't for DMX. If it
Yeah,
wasn't
because
for that
you
Dark
mean
and Hell is Hot album, like
for
that was just amazing. One of the best, in my opinion, one of the best rap albums of all time, if not the best. You know, for my ears. So
yeah, and I'm pretty sure there's plenty of people that would agree with you. The '90s were when it came to rap in the '80s. Now I was born in '68, so you know when rap started to come out, and you know I was a disco kid, and then went from disco kid to listening to Rapper's Delight, and you know Blondie, and rap was starting to like flow. And so you know when I was in high school, I don't think you would identify with you probably wouldn't have identified with a group like Public Enemy or um Eric B and Rakim, because they're not singing about anything that would draw you to them, because they're singing about being in their hood, getting money. You know what I'm saying?
mm-hmm.
So, and then here comes DMX, and DMX is like, you know, talking about his satanic side or his dark side. And here you go, like, okay, so I'm used to listening to Kurt Cobain and the dark side of stuff. So this right here is pretty much what's going on, and I'm captivated by it. And we all have, you know, who we like and who we don't like. And when you mentioned Ja Rule is one of my favorite. Ja Rule is one of my favorite.
I mean,
And
people hate on him a lot, but I still like Ja Rule, and
Ja
people
Rule is
hate
my favorite.
and people hate on him. People call him the Nickelback of rap and all this stuff, and it's like, you know what I'm saying? And
No,
it's
when Ja Rule comes on and hit with his voice, I'm like, oh my god. And then when 50 came out and would, you know, basically, you know, try to trash on him, hate on him and stuff, and
Mhm.
saying he's not really, you know, in the hood, and that's when it was like, okay, who cares if you're not in the hood? Like, you know what I mean? Is that the pre-qualification to sing rap? Not true.
Mhm.
But Ja Rule was my favorite. I always loved Ja Rule.
You know, the song, I can't think of it.
Which
Maybe you
one?
know it. It's older, but it was a song that DMX and Ja Rule did together.
Oh. I know exactly what you're thinking. I know exactly what song you're talking about. Oh,
That shit
because
was
they had
crazy.
fell out. They had fell out for a little bit, and then they got back on board. Oh
Yeah,
my
that shit
god.
was crazy though. Ow!
Oh.
I just dropped my damn phone. But that shit was crazy. You know. Um,
Oh my god. How could I forget? I'm gonna have to look it up because I'll be thinking about it all
I got it
night.
right here. I'm gonna look it up.
Okay, because I remember when they kind of got into it. And
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my God, I don't really need these two to be going at it because I love them both. And I think it had to do
Because next thing you know, DMX is that guy. DMX is that guy that will bring Ashanti into it, and then Ja Rule gonna flip.
Mm.
You know?
I think it was a Murder Inc. situation, and I'm not sure why they were fighting. Um, but I think they squashed it. They did.
Yeah, they did. I want to say it was on Ja Rule's. Was it his first album, or is that on a DMX album? I don't even know.
I'm gonna tell you right now because I was just thinking about that, and I can't remember. I hate when I can't remember why somebody was.
Listen, I can't remember shit. So
Hold on, let me see if I can. I know I was just talking about this with one of my friends. I said I don't care because we were talking about 50. I'm like, I love 50, but Ja Rule is the man, and I know he doesn't have as much um
It's murder.
Yes. Ja Rule beef.
Yes, it's murder.
Yeah, after they broke up. Oh,
Is
yeah,
that
yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
motherfuckers ready or what? I don't think you are. I don't think so. They
It was
got
a
my
beef
back against the
between
wall. I'm
him
the
and
villain that's
Jay-Z
creeping
had
around
beef.
corners. Like shorty, if you see them niggas creeping around corners, they might be coming through, gunning through, running through. So be careful what you do. On with me, but it seems like since you enjoyed myself. Some niggas scheming hard.
That's what it is. It's
They,
murder.
the reason why they were arguing is because Jay-Z, it was animosity between Jay-Z. He thought that Jay-Z brought Ja Rule in to copy his signature rough style, you know, how he talks. And they both have that gruff talk, but they're both distinctive. It had, to me, it didn't. And I think Ja Rule and DMX squashed it because it was like he said it was petty or something. I can't remember what it was. So they fell out, and then
That was somebody I never liked.
who?
Jay
Jay
Z.
Z. Jay
Never
Z.
liked.
Jay Z is Here's something about Jay Z that I can appreciate. Jay Z was, you know, like a 2-bit hustler back in the day, right? Um, he's a very smart businessman. Um, as a matter of fact, I just posted on my page. He actually, Jay Z and Beyonce just bought um DMX's masters and gave it to the kids. Gave it to DMX's kids for free.
Oh, good. Yes, I never
So
liked Beyonce either. But good.
yeah. See, to me, Beyonce is all entertainment. I don't really think. I mean, if I were to say the Beehive would come after me, but I don't. Beyonce doesn't. She's an entertainer. She can't act. Her songs are good, but like I said, it's all entertainment. So, but yeah, that's why Ja Rule, and DMX got into it because he thought that Jay Z was bringing in Ja Rule to copy his signature style, but they squashed it during an awards. I can't remember if it was the
What
VH1
was it?
honors or
What
something.
was it? The Source Awards or something?
No, it was VH1 honors. I think it was.
Oh, okay.
But that and I remember X used to say all the time, I really don't fuck with a lot of people, and he says it in his music. I done told you, I'm not a nice guy. I don't fuck with too many
Yeah,
people.
see, VH1 was bringing people together, while MTV was pulling people
Yeah.
apart. I
Well,
mean,
MTV started off, basic rock. And to me, I didn't have a problem with it. If that's what you wanted to play, that's what you wanted to play. That was the premise of it, right? Music television. They, whoever came in and created it or whatever, and I'm not really into the history of MTV. Because I
I don't.
listened to some of the
I have
rock
no
music.
clue. I
I
got no clue.
listened to the rock music on MTV like when it first came out. I was listening to not all of it, but I was captured by some of it. And then they started bringing in the 80s punk and this, that, and the other, so I got to watch it a little more. Um and then I think Michael Jackson was the first person that they brought in pop music. But people had issues with, and then they had BET, they had VH1, they started creating their own little um uh music television, because then you would have like, what did they have, like the basement or Rap City,
They had
and
MTV. They had Yo MTV Raps.
yes, Yo MTV Raps. Then they had other types of rap shows coming along. Here's the thing of it though. When you look at rock and you look at rap, they're the same. They are actually the same. They're just different types of issues. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you guys, okay, so you guys listen to dark stuff, you know whatever attracts you to rock music, for me, it could be a bass guitar, it could be a solo, it could whatever. For me, I don't really have. I'm just attracted to music because my father was a musician. So they're both they're very similar. And what got you, like I said, is the darkness of DMX. You know, you don't like every rock song. You don't like every rock group. You know what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
have your preferences.
Yeah.
So, you know,
I think it was some of that, and I think I, you know what else? Looking back on it, now that I think of it, I think a big part of it too, and I know I'm gonna get a lot of hate mail for this.
What?
I already know I'm gonna get a lot of hate mail for this, but it's the same reason why I always hated people like Tupac.
Why did you like Tupac?
All right, let me explain it this way. So I was a young rocker, suburban kid, grew up in a suburban town. Not much goes on. Okay, now you have somebody like Tupac, and I think one of the things that always irritated the hell out of me was the fact that all this guy talked about, to my knowledge, I didn't listen to a lot of his music, but to my knowledge, all he ever talked about was gangs and guns and all this stuff, and it just like drove me insane that it was all about shooting somebody, or it was all about like gang activity, and I think that at the time, and I know I probably sound ignorant to a lot of people because I haven't listened to his music, and at that time I had no real knowledge of his music. Now, before I finish, I'm gonna say that now that I'm much older, like 30 years past that age, you know, I've listened to some of his music since, and I don't have the same view of his music as I did back then. But you know, I like there's actually quite a bit of his music that I do like that's on my phone. Um, but that being said, things like that always irked me, and I think that is what initially really turned me off to hip hop at the time. And then DMX came, and I didn't really hear that. I didn't really see that. You know, and yeah, I think you know, looking back on it, the Rough Riders video, for example, had a lot of that stuff in it. The song necessarily didn't, but the video did. And
Yeah, with the ATVs, the
yeah,
dogs,
yep. And but it was always viewed as like it always felt like a party song to me. It didn't really feel like like a like a gangster song. So I that could have been part of it.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Tupac, you couldn't identify with Tupac. You and Tupac have two different separate struggles.
Yeah.
I mean, to be honest with you, the struggle is really, the foundation of it is the same. It just affected you differently. Your demographics was different. Tupac talked about gang violence because that's what he was in. Tupac's mother was a drug addict. Things, that you couldn't possibly identify with. It is a type of darkness that you couldn't identify with, right?
Yeah.
But when DMX came out, his darkness you could identify because he talked about the spiritual side, the satanic side, the struggle. You could grab with that. And again, you don't have to like Tupac. I mean, you don't. You again. When you listen to rock music, do you listen to every rock musician? You have your preference, right?
Yeah.
So Tupac to me didn't have as much. Like, you'll get people that compare. Okay, you want to compare Tupac, you want to compare Biggie, you want to compare and whoever
That was the other
else.
one. That was the other one I was thinking of was Biggie. I kind of put those two together.
Yeah. So Biggie and Tupac struggle although Biggie wasn't really into the gang, one thing about me with Tupac is what I was for me, it was like the West Coast rap. I was not a West Coast rap fan. um, when NWA came out in their minivan and Jerry curls, I'm looking like, yeah, I'm not feeling it. You know what I mean? But I respected what they did. And
Yeah.
then as Snoop came in, as Dre came in, as Eminem, and they all started to say, you know what, yeah, it's the East Coast and a West Coast type of different experiences. But again, our struggles in the foundations are the same things. We're all rapping about what's going on within us. That's how you can identify with the authenticity of it. Like DMX, it was all authentic. He wasn't there. There was nothing fake about DMX, right?
He wasn't theoretical at all.
Yeah, what I mean. So it just, I can understand why you didn't identify with Tupac. There's nothing. Why would anybody hate on you with that?
Well, because I mean, even now, like I said, that my view on his music and Biggie's music, now that I'm older and I'm more mature and I think of things differently, I definitely appreciate their music a lot more now than I did then. Back then, I hated that and it turned me off to the whole genre. But
Mm-hmm.
it's especially, even to this day, like, understandable, because if anybody says anything against Kurt Cobain, I get very offended. But it's so I get it. But it's like you say anything against Tupac, and it's like, yo, you be getting blocked on and hate messages in your inbox. You be getting
And but see, but you got to really ask. You got to really ask the person, why does it bother you that I'm not? I didn't really particularly care for Tupac's music back in the day. I mean, Tupac sung about gangs, but he also sang, funny songs. Do What You Like with the Humpty guy, and
Oh yeah,
um
see, I have that on my phone. I have that song.
because it was lighter. It was about partying. That's what you identify with, right?
I
Because
bet you. I bet you, if I gave you the opportunity to guess what my favorite Tupac song is, you might be able to.
okay, let me because I'm not saying I was a Tupac fan, but um what songs did I listen from Tupac? Dear Mama.
That's it. That's my favorite one.
Dear Mama?
Yeah,
Okay, so Dear Mama, if you're listening to the lyrics, there's
that's
something
all
that
about struggle. It's all
yeah,
about struggle.
right.
All
So
about
there's
struggle.
something in there that drew you to it, right?
The lyrics do make a lot of sense. I mean, obviously, they don't hit me the same way as they would, but I can kind of relate to it in different ways. Like, like what he's saying is a direct and exact, probably in interpretation of what he went through, but at the same time, just one example, when he's talking about um his mom cooking for the holidays, like, my mom makes miracles every Thanksgiving. You know what I'm saying? Well, it's gonna hit me a little bit different because I'm from a different area, but
Was
at the
your
same,
mom making miracles in the kitchen?
no, because sometimes it was my dad that cooked, but
Okay.
at the same time, though, it's like, I definitely, even though I didn't experience that, I can kind of get, I can see where he's coming from in that, because like, even growing up, you know, like, there were times where the holidays came around, including Thanksgiving, and like, it's, what are we gonna do? You know what I'm
Right.
saying? Like, you got to get the turkey, you got to get all this stuff, and it's expensive. So I can definitely relate to it in different ways. So I can definitely, and I appreciate it. Like I said, even more now that I did that.
Yeah,
And
and don't
even when
forget.
I was young, the very first time I heard that song, I liked it, and I just didn't tell people it was Tupac at the time. So
Yeah, but even I think another reason why you didn't really care for Tupac, Tupac's rap was, embedded in militancy. Like his mother was part of, Black Panther, that whole, it's kind of like for us, and I know people will never admit this, but you know what? We're human beings. We don't have, we all experience different feelings at different times. So
Absolutely.
when you think about Black Panther, right? A militant group, a black group, you know, you equate it to maybe violence or whatever the case may be. When I look at, you know, a group, a white supremacist group, you know, if I hear something, a song that's rooted in that, I'm not going to particularly care for it. So, you know, what drew you to Pac is when he started singing the, like, okay, you identify with the Dear Mama, you saw the other side. You identify with the party part, you saw the other side. So again, you may not, you may have plenty of groups that you like where it comes to rock music, but you don't like every rock artist.
No,
So,
no.
and people, like I said, they get crazy. How dare you don't like Pac? Okay, I don't like all the Pac music.
Yeah. I mean, going back to DMX, because we definitely went off track for a little bit, but going back to DMX, he definitely like introduced me to that whole genre. Like he got me started on that whole genre. Like I said, which led me to people like Ja Rule, people like Eve even, and then led me, in which that stuff led me into more R&B, which I was even more shut off to than rap. Like people like Ashanti, for example, people like J Lo and Ja Rule was like it it was pretty much you buy like you buy one of their albums, you're getting both of them. It's not even like one person
Because
anymore.
now you're talking about the beginning of what we call the hook culture.
Uh, uh,
So you've got Ashanti on Murder Inc., where she's got the vocals and she's singing, um, her song, and Ja Rule's like, baby, that hook. So it's that's the beginning of the hook culture. So then you got,
mhm.
what's the other guy that does the hook? Oh my God. Oh
Fat
my,
Joe.
no, not Fat Joe. Did you? Okay, God, I can't believe I'm getting old. He was part of leaders of the new school. Um,
Busta.
yes, yes. Buster is the
Another
hook.
rapper I've always liked.
Okay, so Buster was created the hook culture. Like that was his thing. Method Man. Um, did you like the Wu-Tang Clan?
No, no.
Okay.
Here's the thing with that. I hated Wu Tang, but I liked Method Man.
Because you liked, what about Method? Because Method was goofy and smoked weed, and he had his sidekick Redman. Like,
No, no. To be honest, like we were. I've never smoked weed even to this day,
mm-hmm.
but so it wasn't even about that. I don't know. I don't know. I always liked Red. I always liked. I didn't like Redman, but I liked Method Man.
See,
I never liked Wu Tang, but I liked Method Man. Oh, the other member of Wu Tang that I kind of liked for a little bit
ODB,
was
ODB.
ODB was a clown. You know what I'm saying? ODB was a clown. I can't help.
RZA.
The only thing that whenever anybody mentions ODB, and it's so terrible, the first thing I think of is that damn song he did with Mariah Carey.
Oh
Uh,
yeah.
but no, that dude was just a clown. You know what I'm saying? Like it makes me laugh. But um,
Did you like RZA?
Jizza, I think it was the
RZA.
no Jizza. Wasn't there Jizza and RZA? Wasn't there two of them?
Oh yeah, there was both of them. I liked RZA, so um,
Hey,
I
what up,
love
Tim?
I love the Wu. A lot of their stuff was based in, you know old kung fu movies we used to watch in Shaolin. They
Yeah.
kind of like him. Like I just love their group.
Oh, I
So.
did really like. I'll correct that. There was two songs I've always liked by Wu. One was Cream.
Mm-hmm.
Always liked Cream, and Triumph.
Now, why did you like Cream? Did you like the beat or did you like the lyrics?
I think I liked the beat, and I just thought it was fucking ridiculous that Method Man would just kept the only thing he did in the song was just dollar bills,
Oh,
y'all.
so you was like, cash rules everything around me. Cream get the money. Then he says, dollar bill.
I think that was like that's like all I remembered from the song. And it was like, yo, all he did it was like dollar bills, y'all. I
So,
was like, oh my
so
god.
did you like? Let me ask you a question. Did you like? Okay, what was that dude's name? I couldn't stand him. I mean, I didn't. And I didn't. It's not like I couldn't stand. I just didn't like his music. When he did the, song that song "Wild Thing" and um, what's the other one? The Big Butt song.
Oh,
Um,
Sir Mix-a-Lot.
yeah. Did you like him? Did you like
No, I thought
um?
Big Butts. I looked at him like I thought he was more of a clown than freaking ODB
He
was.
was a clown.
You know who else too? I put in that same category. Bismarcky.
Oh no, 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 no. Biz was a DJ. But he did clown a lot. He did. He clowned a lot.
They say she's just a friend.
Yeah, no. The
Say
Biz
he's just a
Biz
friend.
Biz used to do the parties, so I mean he was supposed to be like a sidekick funny thing though. That was his persona. But
Mm-hmm.
with so DMX again, you're attracted to the darkness, you're attracted to his story, you can identify with his story. Because to be honest with you, when you listen to certain rock songs, they're talking about their struggle with Satan
Yeah,
and
they're talking
being
about some
pulled
crazy
in.
shit.
You know what I
That,
mean?
I mean, it's the same thing though. Like I could play you. I mean, I could play you something right now, right? And you'll listen to it and you'll be like, "That's some of the most evil shit I've ever heard." But they're a Christian band, and all they're doing is talking about God.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're probably not gonna understand what the hell they're saying, but if you did, that's what they're talking about.
Yeah.
So again, the point is you listening to it and it sounds dark as fuck, but then you know reality, it's actually the complete opposite. So it still has the light and the dark,
Right.
and which I never really thought about it in the way that you explained it, but it makes a lot of sense. I like the light.
So
It's like the yin and the yang. That's
yeah.
good and bad and
So
everything.
what give me an example of some dark lyrics you like from one of your favorite band.
Some dark lyrics. Actually, I was listening to one today. Hold on, I'll tell you. Let me go to. Um, let's see. A lot of the bands though, a lot of their stuff is about like rejection and not fitting in and stuff like that. Uh, um,
So rejection and not fitting in, because that's basically a lot of the premises of some rock songs that I've listened to. So let's look on the other side.
here's
When
all
you,
right. Here's one.
Mhm.
I don't need you to do it for me. I don't need you to understand me. I don't need you to hide it from me. I just want to feel like any other man. I won't show you the whole story. I won't show you the aftermath. I won't show you my allegory. Don't look away. Here's an unexplainable one. Um, I found my bottom line, dead on the front lines. I'll know I'll never go home. Set fire to your ships and your past regrets and be free.
So what does that mean to you? Because I don't know what that means.
That stuff means, this is what it means to me. Like, I'm looking at that as like, well, the last part I look at very differently. The last part where he says, set fire to your ships and your past regrets and be free. I look at that as, you know, instead of dwelling on your regret, instead of constantly like thinking about it and thinking about what you should have done, just destroy those thoughts and like free your mind, like be happy. You know what I'm saying? That's how I take that. So, and then the other stuff, he says, I don't need you to do it for me. I don't need you to understand. I don't need you to hide it from me. I don't need you to, I just want to feel like any other man. I won't show you the whole story. I won't show you the aftermath. I take all that. There's a couple of different ways that I can take that. I can take that, one, as a emotionally abusive relationship. And he doesn't want to show the pain that he's going through to that person, or he doesn't want to show the damage that's been done to that. Like, he doesn't want to show the damage that's been done to everybody, so he holds it all in.
Okay.
The other way I take that is 100% internal,
right,
where he doesn't want to let that side out of him. So like, he knows it's there and he keeps trying to suppress it. So that's how I take it. I take it either way, because but I mean, there's also a lot of, you know, there's also a lot of lyrics that make no fucking sense. But
well,
and
I
a bunch
like what
of
you
other
said
stuff.
earlier. You said it's rooted. A lot of it's rooted in rejection, and they just want to be accepted, right? So
I feel like that's rooted more in depression,
right?
And like depression and rejection. I feel is that stuff. Oh, so it's causing him to feel like he has to hide feelings, like he can't, like he's like, I won't show you where is it, this one line, oh, I just want to feel like any other man, where he feels like he doesn't feel like a man, because he feels like if he shows how he truly feels, instead of suppressing it, it's gonna make him look weak. It's gonna make him like look like less of a man.
Okay.
If he shows that emotion.
Okay. So you basically explained, you know, what those lyrics meant from a perspective of a different genre of music. When in all actuality, when you mentioned about Tupac always talking about guns and gangs, it's basically the same thing, just expressed differently. So they, drew to gangs and shooting and things of that nature because some form of rejection and some form of depression. And with Tupac, it's, his mom was a drug addict. Nobody knew where his daddy was, whatever. So he's already got mommy and daddy issues. So he draws, his lyrics are coming from, okay, now my real family is the gang family. That's who takes care of me. And I'm going to protect them no matter what. Now, gang culture is rooted in being hard, right? They're not showing any soft sides. Right?
Exactly. Just as 6ix9ine. Yeah.
So two different genres.
You weren't supposed to agree with that, but
wait. 6ix9ine is a little. That's a whole other issue. But anyway,
I know. That's why I said that. But go ahead.
Um,
I completely
here
threw
you
you
got
off.
two different genres of
I completely
music,
threw you off.
two different genres of music, but they're basically saying the same thing in different forms or fashion. So you identify with that because that's what you can identify with, and Tupac identified with the same thing, just in a different demographic.
Mm-hmm.
DMX helped you to understand, oh, they're talking about dark shit too, and I can identify with it. So then eventually you roll over to the other side where Tupac's singing about his mama. You identify with it because that struggle is being told in a way you can understand.
Yeah.
Um, so I mean, that's why I say music is a beautiful thing. It is so universal. Um, I was exposed to so much music that growing up, you would think that when I growing up, my dad was in the military, so every base we lived on, we were the only black family. So what I listen to, like, my dad was, we're from Panama. He does Spanish music, he does West Indian music, he does jazz, he does country, he does it all. And then I'm in school listening to rock music, disco, soft rock, so I'm exposed to a lot of different things. And uh when I was 14, my father decided to retire, and we moved into this community that was, it was more or less an African American community. It was very, very affluent, and it was a culture shock to me because where I was coming from, the music was different. They didn't listen to the kind of music. They were basically focused on R&B, rap, whatever. And then we started to get when the 80s started coming up with the punk. That's when it started kind of meshing a little bit. It was, it was sounding good. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, you know, when I'm at school and they're listening to this and I'm listening to this, I'm like, wow, I'm not, this sounds pretty good. You know what I'm saying? So music is a universal, beautiful thing. And if people take the time to really understand that we're all struggling with the same thing, it's just a different way we express it.
And
Right?
I realize, like I said, I realize that now that I'm older, and I'm more mature and able, in my mind is a little bit, more accepting, and I look at things very differently
Did
than
you
I
did you
did.
listen to Bubba Sparks?
No, I was never a fan of country rap,
And I like Bubba Sparks.
but
I liked him.
yeah, no, I was never a fan. But I am gonna wrap this up.
Yep, yeah, because it's almost an
But,
hour.
yeah, but before I wrap it up, I want to say one more thing. I have to, something fell over, so I'm gonna pick that up.
Mhm.
But why I picked that up, I want you to tell everybody where you're from and what you got going on, and um,
Oh,
you got a
sure.
minute? You got?
Yeah.
I always give people an opportunity to talk about their own podcast for a minute. So I'm
Yeah.
gonna go pick that up,
Okay.
and and while I'm picking it up, you can let them.
Well, my name is Adelma Spalding. I actually started in the podcast industry, a couple months ago. I have a podcast named No Box Podcast. I talk about anything I want, basically. There's no parameters. I can talk about entertainment, I talk about politics, religion, history, especially. I love history. Um, I am basically on a podcast network right now, where we have over 30 podcasters on the network. And I just enjoy talking about, like, this was great, talking about a rapper and how uh Beer Tom decided that, he's attracted to that music. I think that's great. I think it's awesome because, again, we all got the same struggles. We just live in different demographics. Um, we experiences the same things, but just in different ways. But yeah, my podcast, I have it once a week. It drops on Thursday, and again, I talk about anything. There's no specific thing that I won't cover. But I really appreciated this talk because, again, I love talking about music because it's universal.
Absolutely, and I was, excuse me, I'm all distracted because I just made a big fucking mess. But I had a good time talking with you, giving tribute to DMX. This one's for you, and thank you for all the great music you gave us. Um, Actually, I have a lot of memories from his music, believe it or not. Some of the so-called metalheads that I hung with, we actually went out and did the Rough Riders anthem for karaoke a couple times.
Wow.
I changed a couple of the words around, but
Right.
but we did. We did. I want to make that clear for anyone that's watching. There were
No
words.
worry. I saw when DMX was at, what was it? Like a Woodstock type of thing.
Yes.
And he was singing, which song was he singing? Stop, drop. Yeah, he was singing the Rough Riders anthem. And I saw them white girls mouthing it. I'm like, here we go.
No, when we did it in karaoke, just want everyone to know we did switch. There was a couple things we changed, but it was a good time. I still to this day enjoy his music. I'm gonna be going back listening to everything over the next week or so.
I think he has some unreleased songs. Hopefully, I thought he did. So I don't know.
I'm sure they'll put out like a box set and all kinds of stuff that never got released. And for every also make sure that you give me the info so I can post your podcast with this one, and I'll post the link to yours so that everybody that was able to watch or that will watch in the future has an opportunity to go and check yours out as well.
All right. Well, you want me to send it to you? Not in here, do you? In the chat?
No, yeah, just send it to me. Yeah, you can send it to me after. But everyone, thank you for tuning in.
Yes, thanks for having me.
For coming on. DMX, rest in peace. And I'll see everybody next Friday on the Entertainment Fusion. Night, y'all.
Good night.